Welcome to the presentation called Google Slides in Sheets. Google Slides is similar to PowerPoint, and Sheets is similar to Excel or a spreadsheet. So as you hear those terms, that's the connection that you can make there. Hi everybody, I'm Meg Ormiston, thrilled to be here. Love making these modules and making personal professional development. For you, this series is a little different from others that you might have watched that we have created. The Google series is a little bit more like a tutorial. This is coming from teachers that begged to have a kind of a step-by-step to understand Google Drive at a deeper level. So it's a little bit more tutorial than some of the other ones. I encourage you, if you can, put this presentation on one computer or an iPad and work on another one. Kind of work with me as we go, as if I was sitting next to you and helping you. So take your time, work through this, have some fun. Now, Google Presentations is different, of course, than PowerPoint because it's part of Google Drive, meaning we can access it anytime, anywhere from any device, but we can also invite collaborators in. So let's say that we're getting ready for a presentation. Let's say curriculum night, for example. We're getting ready. We can all share one document and contribute from home, from anywhere. It doesn't matter. So we can all contribute to the presentation. That's one of the nicest things about Google Slides. So it used to be called presentations. So if you hear me go back and forth, it's just a Google change of name again. All right, now, as we go through this series of modules I kind of developed as independent, but it overlaps quite a bit. If you're new to sharing, I encourage you to go back and do the Google Docs one because that goes into great depth about sharing. I'm going to assume you've already covered that as we go into this one. So your prerequisite is you understand sharing. Now, this is on your handout. The great folks at Slide Carnival, have saved us so much time. They've made these beautiful templates and backgrounds, and they look great, and a whole bunch of them are available for free. Now, you're probably not a trained designer. These people are. So you can download these presentations right into your Google Slides, and you have permission to go ahead and use them for your presentations. They look great. So I have to give a big shout out to the Slide Carnival people for sharing. We appreciate anything that you can give to us, the educators in the world. Okay, open up your Google Drive. I'm assuming that you know how to get there. And you open up Google Drive, you go to New, and you go to Slides. So the way I set up this presentation is I'm going to hit Slides first, and then I'm going to build into Sheets. So if you hear me go, that's how I'm going to be doing it. So open up Google Slides, and they have built-in templates. Not quite as pretty as my friends over at Slide Carnival, so I kind of like those better. But they do have built-in templates. Don't waste a lot of time here. They all kind of tend to look the same in the long run. With students, I always tell them they have to start with the simple light, and after all the content's been inputted, then they can come back and add graphics and change the backgrounds and stuff. If not, they could spend an entire class period right here. So once you open up a presentation, this is the first thing they ask. I like simple light backgrounds myself. And you can also import themes. This was new to me, and so of course I had to play with it. I loved preparing these modules because I learned probably as much as you do as I go ahead and do that. So what I learned is you can import themes from other places. So I thought, let me find out more, and gave me a chance to show you that there is help. And there is Google has really worked hard in Google Drive to give you really specific help. So don't be afraid to go digging around to find it. And so, of course, I have a new puppy, so I tried to upload the picture of the puppy, and it didn't work because it was looking for things that are in PowerPoint format. And PowerPoint has a lot of different formats, but my puppy wasn't in a PowerPoint format, so that didn't work out. So, but the help clarified it right there. So if you have a beloved presentation that is in PowerPoint, you can bring it into Google Slides. For example, when I work with one group, they want me to use a PowerPoint background, a specific one, well, now I can import it here and work in Google Slides. So kind of good to know. So you click and you open up, and this is what it looks like when you open up a Google slide. And you could just go ahead and get started typing in your slides. But let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at if you click on that little yellow bar, again, something I learned in this series, I've never clicked on that little yellow icon. It takes you to the home, the slide home, which makes so much sense because now what it does is it only looks at my slides, presentations. It doesn't look at all my docs and everything else. I'm like, oh, so one little click of that little button and it brings us to a whole new environment that I didn't know existed. So let's take a quick little look around. The menu, you can go ahead and pull down and get lots of choices. The searching in Google Drive is awesome. When you go ahead and name your presentations, make sure that you are very specific. Give us a lot of words because then when you go to do a search, you forget where they are. When you do a search, you'll be able to find it. The views, you can go ahead and search between, if you just want to see the list of the titles, you can do that. If you want to see what they look like the view that I'm in, you can go ahead and do that. File Picker will let you search for and find a file to pick from. And the sorting, okay, again, never knew that was there until I prepared these. And then go ahead and create a new slide, a new presentation. So that's kind of just the quick anatomy of the Google Slides home screen that I had never seen before. And so now let's take a look at the menu. We won't spend a lot of time. It's pretty self-explanatory. And you can also, each one of these pulls down, of course, for different things. So I'll just highlight, name that presentation and be descriptive. You can file it right there in a folder. Again, something I never thought of. File it right there, which is great. Now, everything within Google Drive is automatically saved as you work. And so you don't have to go ahead and save as and remember all of that. It's automatically, when you name that presentation, it's automatically constantly sharing. No matter what device you're on, that sharing is continuous, which is really cool. Google accounts. I mentioned this a couple times because this brings a lot of confusion. You might have a personal account, you might have a school account, and like maybe your son or daughter borrowed your laptop and they're logged in. So always check in your upper right hand corner what account that you are in, and you want to make sure you're in your school account there. You can add comments to a presentation. So let's say that we're working along, we're making a presentation for professional development. We can not mess with the slides, but you can comment over to the right. Sharing, I covered extensively in the Google Docs session, and we'll cover it a little bit here, but if you need a heavy sharing, go back to the Google Docs presentation, and that will give you some sharing ideas. Sharing is exactly the same across all of the parts of Drive. You can see that every document is private to me until I make the choice to change it. That's the key. Everything starts private, and you have a huge link to share, but you can share that through your Google Classroom. You can share it through an email, whatever you want. Or you could invite people right to the document through email. This works great if there's only a few of you on a committee, for example, but if you wouldn't want to go through and type 120 student emails that way. Now, once you might have a few additional options when you get into the sharing. You want to go ahead and share with anyone with the link. And then do you want them just to look at it, like read only? Do you want them just to be able to do those comments on the right? Or do you want somebody to actually be a co-writer with you and edit? So you make the choice. The person that owns the document always makes those choices. And that, in this case, happens to be you. Once you make your choices, I changed it to anybody with the link can edit. And now the link up there that I'm going to copy and share has those properties within there. And so once the link is shared, that gives them permission to edit. Now the toolbar, this is a little different from the documents toolbar. Here you can go ahead and add a new slide, and then you can go ahead and undo, redo, and so on, and in print as well. So once you make your slides, you just keep clicking on the plus sign to add more. The zoom works really well, especially when you have really detailed slides. That really is a great feature. You can insert things like text box and images in shapes. You can see that I did a lot with shapes all the way through this whole series of tutorials. All I did was insert the shape and then put a text box in there to go ahead and do these. The insert the comment, alignment, make your slides look just like you want them. And the backgrounds, layouts, themes, transitions, not everything that PowerPoint has, but pretty much what you need. I think hopefully the breaking glass transition isn't in here. We'll have to find out by looking at the transitions. Now, this was a big complaint, huge complaint for people that used anything Google for when it first came out. Big change. There's been a lot more fonts added, and then you can also go shopping in the free font store, so you can find exactly what you need. The nice part is if you do use the slide carnival that I pointed out at the beginning, if you do use those templates, those fonts automatically come into your Google environment. That was really nice because they have some really different fonts, and the look and the feel really looks nice. Again, designed by designers, not me. Now the file menu. We're just going to hit a couple of things. Anytime somebody shares something with you, make a copy. It's like making your masters and your black line, like a master copy, and then your copy you're going to hand to your students. Make a copy. There's always a revision history. So let's say that you have students and you assign them a group to make a presentation. You can view the revision history to see who did most of the work. It's right there with their name on it. You can also download this as a PowerPoint presentation. One little note that I did learn while getting ready for this is when I went to download it to a PowerPoint presentation, I did not have those fonts installed in my PowerPoint. So it looked beautiful in Google Slides, and I downloaded it, and now everything was off. So I tried to install the fonts and I was not successful. So what I ended up doing is just going back and staying within Google Slides. And I was able to do everything that I wanted to. You could also publish to your web if you have a website, like for example, your curriculum night presentation. Publish it to your website. Don't reinvent the wheel. Page setup, just like you would find in PowerPoint. The insert, this is kind of nice. Text boxes. So you can really customize your slides by having text stuck kind of all over the place, however you want to do it. There's insert images. I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in the next screen. What you're looking at now, those purples are called callouts. Those callouts are there's all different shapes of them, but the nice part is then you can just go ahead and type right in there, which is great. And there's all different shapes of arrows and things like that, so you can go ahead and do that. The video only can come from YouTube right now, and of course Google owns YouTube. That probably won't change. So let's say that you have something else in another video, like Vimeo is another one. You can insert the link, you just can't embed the video. That's what it's called when you can embed the video. Comments, you can always add comments over to the right of your presentation. Now, I wanted to point this out because Google recently bought stock images, and what's nice about those, they're beautiful, high-quality pictures for your presentation, but less of the bad stuff that sometimes you get in a Google search. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And the research tool is available within slides, and I thought, oh, this is great. The research lets you cite things right within the document, which is without leaving your presentation. You can go out and get, like, you want to cite a book, you want to cite a graphic, you want to do something like that. It will give you the citation in whatever format you want, all within the environment. Very cool. We're going to leave Google Slides right now, and we are going to go over to Google Sheets, sometimes called Google Spreadsheets, so don't get confused. Google Sheets. And looks like a spreadsheet. There is, kind of the basic spreadsheet. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have every feature of Excel, but it sure has a lot of what you need. We'll do this kind of the same paint format. This is where you can set how many decimal points you want and more formatting. Your fonts and characters, your fill, borders, and your alignment. And then just like in Excel, you can insert your charts, your functions, and your filters. I will be completely honest and tell you that when I really have to get into deep manipulation, I bring it down to Excel. I love to use Google Sheets for collaboration, for sharing, for like in our office, we're all contributing to one. That's great. But when I get into sorting, merging, all those things, I bring it down to Excel for like kind of the heavy thing. Same with formulas. I find that Google Sheets is just not as easy for me to manipulate at this point. But there is some great data things, including sorting, very simple sorting, and pivot tables and filters if you need those. And the insert, of course, I use this all the time, the inserting rows and columns above, below, comments, functions, and notes, and drawings and things like that. Now, the drawing is pulling out of Google Draw, which is nice. You can draw right within a spreadsheet environment, which is really cool. Form we're going to hit in the next one. So I'm going to skip over that, and that comes in it has its own tutorial. So we'll skip that for now, but you'll see how they're connected if you join me for the next one. Now, there are add-ons that you can add to most of the Google things, and they're different for each one depending. And this one happens to be some, and the list goes on, some of the add-ons for Google Sheets. So one across the menu top, it says add-ons, and then it says get more. And you can come in here and you can have any of these. These are all free at this point. There are a couple of them that have like premium upgrades, but the basic is always free, at least at this point. I think one of my favorite ones is Flubaroo, some people call it, whatever you want to call it. That is an add-on for Google Spreadsheets where you can basically create an answer key, and then that connection over to forms that we'll talk about is then a student could complete a form. You've made it's a script. It sounds much more complicated than it is. And if you haven't used it in a while, they really made a major upgrade to Flubaroo, and it was so much easier because I tried it a couple summers ago, and I actually walked away and thought, forget it, I'd rather grade it myself. Please revisit it. It is an awesome add-on. This is just one of many, many that you can explore. So that was an overview. That wasn't going through every menu, but it gave you kind of a sense. I do hope you stopped and started me and practiced as we went, but if not, stop me now, go back and kind of walk through. You're going to get great at slides and sheets by practicing. Thank you so much for joining me.